Good morning, guys. This is my interview with RJ Says Hi. I am here interviewing Rebecca Fox about Mission Bay and the dredging event that happened way back before San Diego became San Diego. Becca, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I am doing great today, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing so well. It's 8:19, bright and early, and we're here at, where are we at? The Hangout. We're getting some breakfast right now, but we're going to do a nice little interview about our beloved Mission Bay. Off the top of the rip of the interview, how long would you have said you have worked around Mission Bay or boating in San Diego?
I have been with Freedom Boat Club in Mission Bay mainly for about almost 4 years now.
Okay, and what did you do at Freedom Boat Club starting out?
When I started out, I was part of the dock staff team, so I was responsible for cleaning boats, basic maintenance, and fueling them, as well as helping out members going out boating in Mission Bay.
Okay, nice. That sounds very fun. Now, I personally know you as like one of my besties, and now I know you as a girl boss, so you are now the social media director and marketing girly for both Freedom Boat Club and H&H Marine, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. My official title is Director of Marketing for Freedom Boat Club San Diego and H&H Marine. Freedom Boat Club is obviously the boat club model where you join and you get to use the fleet of boats that we own. And then H&H Marine is a brokerage and a full service center.
Wow, that sounds like a lot.
It's
very fun. Sounds fun though. And personally working there, it's very fun as well. Being in Freedom and being also on the water, how would you say your environment and daily life has been interacted and integrated?
When I started working at Freedom, it kind of changed my life. I mean, I started just falling in love with water sports and fishing and just anything having to do with the water, so much so to the point that I actually own my own boat now. It really kind of changed the trajectory of my life and showed me passions that I didn't really know I had.
So you would say Mission Bay is integrated well in your life now?
100%.
Nice. So being on the topic about dredging Mission Bay, there are obviously some pros and cons that everyone has about what happened with that. For those that do not know, Mission Bay was entirely man-made to profit more income, revenue, tourism, and all that water attraction. First, hold on, mimosa clink. Clink! You can barely hear it. So now back to the dredging. What do you know about the pre-dredging, pre-renovation of Mission Bay?
So my understanding of some of the Mission Bay historical context is that it was originally called False Bay, and it was a wetland for the Kumeyaay people. In 1944, the San Diego Chamber of Commerce agreed to develop it to kind of make it a tourist hub, because at the time San Diego was very heavily a military city, like people didn't really settle down and live here. It was built from the 1940s to the 60s, and it is publicly owned land. So that is really interesting on the Freedom Boat Club perspective. We operate on leases. We don't actually own the land on Mission Bay. But yeah, so that's kind of the historical context I'm familiar with.
Nice. So now saying that San Diego electives and the higher-ups made the decisions to dredge it, why go in that route? Why do you think they did that, other than military bases, since we are a military also populated city as well?
Definitely, yeah. I think they did it to step away from that military city, not stigma, I wouldn't say stigma, but vibe, I suppose, that San Diego had. It wasn't really known for anything except for being a military city, and I think they wanted to increase tourism and local businesses and create just a big park, you know, and that's what Mission Bay is at its core. It's a big park in San Diego.
So back to the indigenous people, the Kumeyaay tribe. When these San Diego electives and higher-ups decided to dredge it, what do you think impacted those people? Because technically they were on this land as well, and saying that this is free land, us doing the renovations on it to get out of the military aspect, does that not take away from people's free will and free land to like do what they please?
It 100% does. Unfortunately, at the time, the Kumeyaay were completely stripped of their right to make decisions about their own land. The city actually removed 95% of the wetland area that the Kumeyaay used and loved, and I think that's a really important part of the historical context when looking at this, that the native people didn't actually get a say in what happened to their land.
Do you think over time the tribe or those Kumeyaay people have integrated well with the Mission Bay lifestyle, or do you think there's still some turmoil / beef going on with San Diego and the tribe itself?
I honestly, from my personal experiences in Mission Bay, I think both of those things are true. There's definitely Kumeyaay people and native people who enjoy Mission Bay the way it is now and enjoy the water sports and the paddleboarding and the park that it is now. And that can be true. Well, there's also, they still live with that turmoil towards the city and the leadership of San Diego, who took away their right to choose what happened with it. So that's one of those where I'm like, I really do think two of those things can be true at once.
What do you think some pros are about the renovation? You talked a little bit about boating, fishing from your perspective, but I can also see that from a general mass of San Diego. Do you think the renovation helped shape San Diego's identity as a coastal city?
100%, yes. I think Mission Bay started the tourism boom in San Diego that we see now. I mean, people come out here from all over the U.S., all over the country, and stay in Mission Bay because it's such an iconic landmark.
Now, what would you say is the difference between attraction and tourism between San Diego Bay and Mission Bay, despite one being downtown and more residential?
Yeah, so I think one of the big pros from a business, a personal, and a safety perspective is that Mission Bay is so protected compared to San Diego Bay. I mean, Ryan, I know you've boated in both bays and swam in both bays. San Diego Bay has a massive inlet, and it makes the waves in the bay a lot choppier. It can get pretty intense. So for beginner boaters, for people who want to swim, do water sports, it's pretty dangerous. Mission Bay, on the other hand, has a much smaller inlet, and because of the wetland, almost levees around the bay, it's so calm and protected. The chop doesn't really get too bad. It's very, very safe for swimmers. There's no secret rip currents or anything. So just for human safety, boating safety, I think that makes a huge difference in Mission Bay being part of the tourism boom and just adding something special that the San Diego Bay doesn't have.
Nice. I like that. Safety is always a nice added on exclusive feature for boating. What do you think about some negatives about the renovations? Marshlands, overcrowded populations, or even the what ifs of what could have been if we did not renovate?
Yeah, I mean, all of those are true. The big con is, of course, the environmental issues. So right now, the sea levels in Mission Bay are actually rising, and without the wetland restoration and the levee restoration, it can lead to a lot of floods and erosion, which is bad for all of the local businesses that are built right there. Obviously, it increases danger, it increases runoff pollution in the bay, so people can't swim in it and enjoy it. So I think it's really important to support the local communities and lobbyists and politicians who are advocating for wetland restoration in Mission Bay. Because without it, we might not have a Mission Bay in 10 years.
Going off of the negative of cons of the renovation, dredging, you did mention about the tides going up and the sea levels rising. With the often dredging that happens and renovations that they keep in Mission Bay, how long do you think they could keep that up? Because all it is just moving sand from the middle towards the coast.
I'm not a professional in this aspect at all, so all of this is just my own personal experience and opinion.
But it's good to think about it from like a resident standpoint, because you go to the beach, you go to the bay, you think about when the tides are rising, so you are informed about your local environment.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Apart from a business perspective, you also have to think about it as a residential. You live here.
Yeah.
This is your home.
Yeah, and I love Mission Bay. I go paddleboarding, I go boating, I swim in it. If we don't do some serious wetland restoration action, I don't think the dredging is going to be enough. I think in probably 5 to 10 years, if we just keep dredging and don't do any actual wetland restoration work, I think there's going to be some serious problems in Mission Bay.
How is that going to affect you as a social media marketing girl at Freedom, a business that is so revolved around going out fishing, giving San Diego locals the experience of having fun on the water, enjoying leisure-free, hassle-free boating?
Yeah, so it is a challenge. I mean, my company advertises hassle-free boating, which it is, but then when it's a heavy topic to bring up, we might not have Mission Bay in a decade if we don't take care of it. You know, that's a heavy thing to bring up with members. But I do think making members aware of the issues that they're facing, because they love Mission Bay just as much as I do, is a really huge part of it. And, you know, maybe it's not marketing in the sense that it's bringing in new members, but it's marketing in the sense that it's keeping the business alive, because we can't have a business if we don't have Mission Bay. And a common misconception about the wetland restoration is that it's going to shut down all of the activities in Mission Bay. That's not true at all. If anything, it's just a lot of work on Fiesta Island and De Anza Cove, which are already, for the most part, no wake zones. Common misconception is that it's going to hinder activities in Mission Bay, and that is not the case at all, especially if we start it early. Like if we're starting doing this right now in the next 3 years, nothing's going to be cut off for boat usage, swimming. It's only going to be a positive.
Mm-hmm. How do you think San Diego would have looked like today if Mission Bay had never been renovated?
I do think the city would have done something with it. I think maybe like keeping the wetlands like a bird watching zone or something like that. So I do think it would still attract some tourism, but it definitely wouldn't be the hub that it is now with all the resorts and the marinas and the boat clubs and things like that. I do think the city would definitely be lacking in like a good, safe tourism spot like Mission Bay.
Mm-hmm. Being a part of Freedom and living in Mission Bay, being so involved with preserving the natural lands of like the marshlands, the wetlands, what would you consider people doing? Like, not only that you already tell them to your members at Freedom, but what would you advise people to do their part to preserve Mission Bay to help make it last longer than what we expect to be, like, what, a decade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely familiarizing yourself with local organizations that are protecting Mission Bay and kind of working on building policy to ensure the longevity of it. But also just there's like small things that normal people can do. So it's the biggest thing is making sure, you know, when you're boating in Mission Bay that you're following no wake zones. They're there for a reason. It's usually because there's some ecological protections there that you don't want to move the boat fast, making sure not to litter. If you see trash, pick it up. Only swimming and paddleboarding in areas that you're allowed to. Just things like that.
Yeah. What about natural issues like oil spills and all that? What would you say would be the safeguard to resolving that issue if one were to be involved in that in Mission Bay?
I think just making sure you immediately call the Coast Guard and professionals that are able to clean that up as soon as possible. I know some people are worried about getting fined and things like that, which is a valid concern, but at the end of the day, we won't have Mission Bay if people spill things and incidents happen and you don't report it immediately so that professionals can come clean it up.
Okay. So now we're gonna switch to a little boating accessibility topic, since you are in the boating industry, and for a lot of people listening, they probably either have been on a boat but have not driven their own boat or had that luxury of doing their own agenda on a boat. So historically, boating was seen as expensive or exclusive. You, as being a part of the social media team and the higher ups at Freedom, what do you think has changed within the local businesses and people?
Yeah, I am actually really passionate about this. There's so many opportunities for everyday San Diegans to go boating now, like more than there ever has been. It used to be, you know, you have to own your own boat and pay for a slip or a mooring ball or trailer it down, and that costs thousands and thousands of dollars. It's very expensive. Most normal people can't afford to do that, but now with the growth of Freedom Boat Club in Mission Bay, we have about 35 slips right now. So that's 35 boats that members can use. And Freedom Boat Club is an alternative to boat ownership. So we handle the maintenance, trailering, haul-outs, and it's a lot more affordable of a way to go boating. But there's also so many great boat rentals in Mission Bay. The Mission Bay Aquatic Center does amazing sailboat and powerboat rentals. They also do classes, so if you ever want to learn how to wake surf or wakeboard, you can do like a 4-hour class with them and be on the boat. I think boating is more accessible than it ever has been, especially with the growth of Mission Bay, and that's really, really huge for, you know, outdoor recreation, getting locals outside more.
So how has your business, Freedom Boat Club, integrated and changed that public access to boating?
Yeah, so I think Freedom Boat Club kind of created a healthy middle between a day boat rental and owning your own boat. And I think that was a key part that was missing, you know, in the options that were available to people. So it's that middle where it's, you know, you still get to boat as much as you want. You can take advantage of the nicer boats. All of our boats are between about 20 and 26 feet.
So how do you think membership style boating makes it more accessible to everyday people? / how has Freedom changed the public view to access to boating?
I think Freedom is a healthy middle between a day boat rental, you know, like going to one of the rental companies and renting for 2, 4, 6 hours for the day. And of course, you know, owning your own boat. I think there was a key missing in there for the options that are available to people. And Freedom Boat Club, you know, you get the nicer boats, you get the bigger boats, you get, you know, the access to them during the day as much as you want, which is really cool. But you still don't need to go through the hassles of owning your own boat, which as a boat owner I can definitely attest to that it's stressful sometimes. So yeah, especially for, you know, older people who can't necessarily do the boat maintenance on their own, people with jobs and kids and busy families, you know, that just unlocks a whole new lifestyle for them. That's a lot more accessible than buying your own boat and a lot more fun than just, you know, doing a day rental.
Have you noticed more beginners or younger people getting into the boating industry now that Freedom has been more integrated in San Diego lifestyle?
Absolutely, which I think is really, really cool. We are getting a lot more people, you know, younger adults in their mid-30s who are just interested in boating. They've never been on a boat, but the really cool thing about Freedom is we offer an initial training and unlimited access to our training captains while you're on the water. So, you know, we put safety at the forefront, and we can really train people to get into boating as much as they're interested in.
Nice. Speaking of safety and training, you, Becca, are actually a part of a huge business opportunity or / training program, Women Making Waves. Can you tell me a little bit more about the background behind Women Making Waves and what inspired you to start that?
Absolutely. So Women Making Waves was started by myself and one of our Freedom Boat Club captains, Captain Vicky. We noticed that a lot of the Freedom Boat Club members, you know, it's a husband and wife membership for the most part, and the wives they had their initial training, but they never really drove the boats. They were a little bit nervous, a little bit more cautious about it, and we wanted to just kind of encourage more women to get in the space because boating is a very male-dominated field, and it can be really intimidating to train with a bunch of men. It can be scary to ask questions there, so we wanted to create a safe space for women to learn and really hone in on their boating skills and talk about whatever they want, train for whatever they want. The big thing with Women Making Waves is we do trainings based on what the group members want. So if they want to learn wakeboard safety, towing safety for their kids, if they want to learn fishing, whether that's in the bay or offshore, that's something we're going to plan for them. We don't want it to be what Captain Vicky and I want because we have been in this industry for so long. We want to just base it on the needs of the women who want to learn more about boating.
What would you say to people looking into maybe getting access to more days on boats or just nervous about going out on the water in general who have never just had the opportunity? What would be like some good words of advice? Knowing the history behind the dredging of Mission Bay, the history you have with the company, and then you as a personal local of San Diego, how would you reach out to people to enjoy this luxury that we made and created?
I think the biggest piece of advice I have is to go for it. You know, there's a lot of anxiety that comes up when you're learning something new or researching something that you don't know a whole lot about, but people in the boating industry are genuinely kind people. They want you to have a great time on the water. Mission Bay is such a relaxed space, and it's so accepting for beginners, novices, to all the way up to professional mariners. So go for it. If you want to get into sailing, find a sailing company that you like and take classes with them. If you want to take your captain's course, do that online. If you're interested in Freedom Boat Club and powerboat training, reach out to us. There's so many resources in Mission Bay and in San Diego as a whole. You just gotta take the first step and reach out.
Nice. Well, a final question I'll ask for you. It's a nice little strong closing question. If you had to describe Mission Bay's importance to San Diego in one sentence, what would you say?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I know, that's why I asked it.
I guess in one sentence.
We can go multiple sentences.
I would just want to highlight the accessibility to locals and tourists that Mission Bay brings for outdoor recreation, which is one of the healthiest things that you can do as a person. And whether you're a small child, you have small children, or an older adult, there's something for you in Mission Bay.
Nice. Well, that is all the time that we have. /breakfast is over. I'm here with Becca Fox. This is RJ Says Hi, saying goodbye. Later.